We've come a long way. Right, so this is a completely unfiltered, no major edits video on my time with the iPhone 17 Pro Max over the last month or so. And the reason why I'm doing this is because if you haven't already gone out and bought one, you've probably seen all of the flashy, high energy, high animation videos that are already out there. But now you're thinking, I get that, but how does it actually perform? I know all the features, but how is it actually in real everyday use? And hopefully this video is there to help you with that. I'm going to kind of break it down into some key areas, including how the build quality has lasted over the last month or so in terms of scratches, dings, color changes, battery, how it's got on with, screen on time, idle use, etc. What I think of the camera improvements, the software and any potential issues, glitches, freezes, etc. and quirks with the new iOS 26, and so much more that you simply just wouldn't get unless you've used the phone for an extended period of time. So firstly, build quality. And some people were straight away suggesting that this cosmic orange colour had a bit of a colour problem, i.e. shifting into the night, changing into a pinky reddy colour. I can't honestly say I've experienced that. It still seems to be a cosmic orange to me without any major pinky hues, and this has been going in and out of my bag, pockets, etc. And it's been rubbed a few times and nothing's really changed from my end. I'm not saying it hasn't, but yeah, I've not noticed it. I have noticed a few dings and scratches, etc., which is, I would say, slightly more present on the aluminium build than I received on my 16 Pro Max, the titanium. So potentially there is a slight fragility, that's the word, fragility going back to aluminium, but I don't use a case, I don't use a skin, but I definitely would recommend, if you are keen to use this for a good amount of time, I would strap up, basically, because it will ding, it will scratch, especially with this cosmic orange colour. You can then see the aluminium underneath. You will probably get away with it better if you bought the silver version, because that will be a similar colour underneath. And you also have the navy blue, or deep blue as it's known, which again will probably show up similar to the cosmic orange in terms of scrapes and dings. I have been pretty rough with this. I have dropped it a couple of times. It has been in bags with keys in. I know, a terrible idea, but it's held the test of time better than I was expecting, having obviously gone from titanium to aluminium as suggested, and the display hasn't really received any scratches either, and considering my usage, that is pretty impressive. The Ceramic Shield 2, I think it is, has done a really, really good job. So well done, Apple, on that screen durability. Battery life. Now, in terms of this area of phone tech, we've kind of got to a stage where we are getting all-day battery from nigh on every single device. And yes, we have seen quite substantial improvements in recent times with silicon carbon technology, and then manufacturers being able to push the capacity from, say, 5,000 up to 6, 7, even nearly 8,000 in some cases, milliamp hours. Most people will be able to get through a day from start to finish without any major problems before needing to charge. What I have found with the 17 Pro Max, while the capacity is lower than a lot of the Android competitors now this year, they've always done well with the software side of things, so that battery optimization is usually really stellar anyway. And without being blown away this year with the 17 Pro Max, it has been a very, very solid battery experience. I'm getting probably around, I would say, 8-ish hours screen on time, 2 to 3 hours on idle as well. So that is taking me from, say, 7 a.m. in the morning, when I get absolutely bombarded and jumped upon by my 2 young children, my version of an alarm clock these days. That will then take me right the way through the day, generally before I need to charge. You're not going to get 2, 3, 4 days battery out of these guys, but most people do charge every night, and you'll, like I said, you'll probably get to late evening before ever needing to charge, and that is even as a heavy user. So they have done a really good job without being industry leading in terms of battery life. Very solid. Again, the only battery issue I've had actually is when I've got my mobile hotspot on. I'm often out at events, on shoots, etc., and I will often tether other devices to this, and when that hotspot is on, the battery will drain far more significantly in my experience, or how I feel it does. And that's one area where I kind of feel I need Apple to slightly tweak the software, where it will automatically turn off my mobile hotspot if it's not in use after an hour, half an hour, 10 minutes, whatever. If you could customize that, that would be ideal, to change those time slots, because often I'll leave it on, I'll be 6 hours into the day and I'll be like, why is my battery at 40% already? And then I'll go, mobile hotspot. And yes, I could be a little bit more tuned in to turn it off, but equally, if there was an automation to do that, that would be ideal. I have kind of made a little get around to it now using shortcuts. So I've got a little green icon there, a little red icon there, if you can see those. And the green one turns the mobile hotspot on, the red one turns it off. And this has been actually invaluable. I now, because I can see it on my screen, it triggers and I go, oh, red, click it. I know it's turned off. I sometimes press it a little bit too much. I'm constantly going red, 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 just in case, all red, bit of OCD, all red. But it works. I feel like I'm getting better battery as a result. In terms of charging, I still feel Apple are, along with Samsung, a little bit behind the curve. Playing it safe, they're fine. You charge them overnight, not a problem. But if you do want to juice them up in 5-10 minutes, you're not going to get the same level as some of the other Android counterparts that are offering far faster charging. They are progressively starting to edge into decent charging speeds, but it still feels a little bit slow. Would I like some high wattage, faster charging? Ideally, yes. Is it a deal breaker? No. Camera. And this kind of drifts into the ongoing, almost since the dawn of time, software side of things with Apple. I feel that you're either in two camps with them. You're either somebody who is needing to have things simplistic, needing to have things just being told basically how to do things. And for probably 90-95% of most people who buy iPhones, they will be really, really happy with that idea. Very simple, very easy to use. If you are somebody who prefers to have a little bit more control and wants to customize things a little bit, you can still do that with this version of the camera app. But I sometimes feel Apple slightly oversimplify a lot of their software features, and that includes the camera app. Having said that, the camera performance overall, I feel, has been a bit of a breath of fresh air. Barring a couple of things, it has been a really, really good camera experience. I mean, video has always been, for the last 3, 4, 5 years, really the best on any smartphone, in my opinion, and many people's opinions, in terms of stabilization, HDR. It works great. In fact, I often take my camera with me when I go to shoot, and I sometimes will be out and about and I will have missed a specific shot, and then I've come home and I've gone to edit and I've got, I've missed that one little thing which I should have probably planned a little bit better with a shot list. But shot lists, oh come on, who are they for? People who don't have to then moan about it afterwards. I should do. If I have missed a shot though, I easily and often do just pull out my iPhone, take a video, 30 seconds, whack it into Final Cut on my Mac, transfer with AirDrop, and it's in. It's so easy, as opposed to going in, getting my camera out again, all the gear. And this is where this video has been incredible over the last couple of years, and no different again on the 17 Pro Max. The video is elite. In fact, I think you could argue that some of the videos, especially on YouTube that I've produced, where most people probably still watch it in 360p or 480 by default because they forget to change it to 4K. You often really won't notice when it's been shot on the iPhone or on cameras, and this is the same across the board. if you're into pro videography or you create content, you may notice it potentially, but it's very marginal. The iPhone video cameras have got so good. But the photo side of things over the last few years on iPhones have left me always a little bit in between. Really, really crystal clear, high vibrancy, really great social media images that you can produce. But I always felt they struggled sometimes with colour. I think a lot of my reviews, if you've seen any of my reviews in the last few years on iPhones, I've pretty much always said I don't understand why colour temperature has been so overtly warm, the red hues, orangey tones, etc., especially on skin tones. My skin tone tends to come off looking like that on iPhone photos. And this may vary for you if you are from a different heritage, for example, if you have darker skin tones, maybe. Some people have said that they like that, but other people do agree with me that they are overtly warm. And I also find in bright sunlight, there's been some HDR issues in terms of, for example, I have dark hair, but I am also salt and peppering nowadays. Kids again, right? In person, people say my hair is darker. In images, on iPhones, it tends to look, it picks out those highlights, those greys, those silvery tones, silver fox. I think most, not for me, obviously, but for other normal looking humans, they get called silver fox. And not just hair colour, but anything that is whites, greys, silvers, the highlights of images tend to sometimes be a little bit too overpronounced on iPhone images. I feel that both of those scenarios have been tweaked. Nothing confirmed from Apple whether they have, but I definitely feel like they have. If I take a photo of me now, and it definitely looks less warm, less red than previous generations, and those highlighted silvery tones are definitely more subdued. Overall images on that main lens are still really nice and crisp, as they are on the ultra wide, which isn't mind-blowing, but it really does the job and can compete with ultra wides across the board. But the zoom lens has definitely been upgraded, and I've noticed it significantly, actually. Zoom has always been an area where, because like I said, I do use a lot of Android phones as well, I've always felt that iPhones are really good cameras, but they've always been let down by their zoom capabilities. 2-3x optical, for example, and low max total zooms have always let the side down almost, and have made me feel like I'm wanting a little bit if I use the iPhone over a long period of time. But now, not only is that 4x optical zoom brilliant, but the 8x optical quality is really pretty incredible too. I took the 17 Pro Max to Hawaii last month for the Snapdragon Summit, where they were launching a lot of the technologies that are going to be going into Android phones, but I was of course testing the iPhone as well at the same time, and I absolutely loved taking zoom shots while I was there. Look at these pictures of some penguins, for example. Yes, I know, penguins in Hawaii doesn't really make sense, but they seemed happy, so I'll let them get on with it. But I used the 4 and 8x quite a lot on these images, and as you can see, they look absolutely crystal clear. And that, combined with the 40x total zoom, now really puts the iPhone now in the conversation, at least. Many manufacturers on the Android side will be pumping out 100, 120x total zoom, for example, but I've always been on the camp that anywhere over 50 is a little bit almost pointless, because the end images, you're not really going to use them, certainly not on social media, because the way the AI software sharpens and it looks a bit like a painting, it's a bit pointless. Having said that, a phone that I have been testing recently, which is under embargo, so I can't really say too much, might just change that. Subscribe for that, for sure. Shameless plug there. And the Oppo Find X9 Pro is incredible as well. Even right up the zoom ranges. I was staying in this absolutely gorgeous hotel, and I had London Eye, I had Big Ben, Houses of Parliament, and I was testing the Find X9 Pro, and some of those long zoom shots with 120x were actually pretty usable. But outside of that, 40x now, the optical quality zoom, which is elite, I think they've done a really good job at bringing zoom into the equation now on the iPhone. So yeah, good job there, Apple. I haven't still really used the camera control button on the side. A lot of people who I've spoken to don't either, but then I don't know whether that's because they are similar to me, they are content creators on the whole, etc. And maybe we're not the clientele to use it, and maybe you might, and that's something that you will only know yourself. If it could be remappable, for example, that might be quite cool, but that's definitely more of an Android thing to do. Whether they add new features in the future, that's another matter. That may then bring in more use to it. But if it stays how it is, I don't know how much longer it's going to stay on there in future generations, because I don't know how much people have actually used it in its current form. Only time will tell. But what about performance? And I mean, what Apple do with their chips has been for the last since I can remember, with the Bionic, the M series chips, they are absolutely, in terms of raw performance, with the A19 Pro Bionic chip inside, this is going to be it's far superior, far more powerful than you're ever going to need it to be for a phone, for what you're going to use your phone for. But of course, with performance, it is not just the chip, it's the software as well. The phone's navigation is only as good as the system that supports the hardware. And I've been on the beta for iOS 26 for before it was officially launched with the new phones. And this is twofold. The first thing I noticed when I first started using it was the liquid glass, as it's known. I liked the principle. I liked the idea behind it, the transparent nature to it, the flowy feeling. I don't know what I'm doing now. What is this? You get the idea. I like the appearance to some extent, but I also felt at first it was a bit like, you know, when you've got a display that's kind of on the blink, a TV, a phone, where the display panel is starting to go a little bit, you can see on the outlines of things, some things are starting to grey out a little bit, the colours are starting to sort of lose their vibrancy, the opacity on them, and it just felt a bit unfinished. I was a bit like, really? Is this my screen? And I spoke to people about it, and there were a lot of people that were just like, don't know what you're talking about, mate, shut up. But there were some other people that were just like, no, I kind of know what you're saying. It does feel a little bit almost unfinished, a little bit. Thankfully, it seems that with the official launch and subsequent updates, it has the opacity has come through a little bit more. The colours are a little bit more present. It's not quite as translucent in that sense. And to be honest, outside of a couple of freezes and glitches, which I'll talk about in a second, it's been plain sailing. It is just a joy to use. There's not, again, with that chip, there's not really anything you're going to be doing on your phone that's going to cause it problems. Multitasking, gaming, music listening, videos. You could literally be swinging in and out of loads of different Windows apps, etc. And it is not even going to blink. It's going to be shming, shming, shming. I've lost the plot. This is what happens when I don't have more of a script idea on a video. There has been one issue which I had, which is very normal. You get bugs, you get glitches, you get freezes on any device, phones, laptops, TVs, anything in the tech world. As good as we've become in our tech development, there will always be problems. And while I wouldn't usually highlight this, it has been an experience I had, so I thought I'd share it. And I'm trying to remember the exact occurrence. I probably should have written it down when it happened so that I could fully remember it in all its detail. If my memory serves me correctly, I was listening to music on YouTube Music. Sabotage. Maybe it's Google, Apple. It decided to nuke it. No, I was listening to music and I jumped out of that and I went into something else and the whole screen just froze. And I just couldn't do anything. I was tapping the screen. I was pressing the power and volume up to try and get the swipe to power off. and nothing was working. And I was just like, I was sat there for minutes just going, what on earth am I going to do here now then? And then it just so happens after, it was a good few seconds, it shut off, and then I was able to then reload the Apple logo. The phone came back on, and it was as if nothing had happened. And it's not happened since. That was just once. It's one of those user experiences that you wouldn't get unless you've used it. Again, I'm not slating Apple here. This happens on all tech, all the time. Android, iPhone, laptops, TVs, headphones, they all glitch. They all have random little brain farts. I've had no thermal issues, but then I haven't really had many heat issues on previous iPhones either. The only one issue I've had in the past with iPhones and temperature has been when I'm outside in direct sunlight in the summertime. It has sometimes dropped the screen brightness because of the core temperature being too high. Now, I haven't been able to test this because I received this in late September. Here in the UK, it's starting to get cold. I'm not going to slate the UK weather because we've had a good summer. We've had 2 months of sunshine. All right, that is very, very good for us. Okay, so woohoo! Don't change. All right, stay. Same again next year, please. It might be something to readdress, come back to. Let me know in a few months' time when we come out the other side of Christmas, going into the spring, summer. Let me know if you're still watching this in 6 months' time, because I may have an update on that, whether this does the same thing or whether the aluminium build has given it more license to keep that screen brightness high in direct sunlight, because it has been a bit, I can't see anything with previous generations with that titanium. And while we're on display, it's a great display. It really is. I can't really fault it. It's one of the top 2 or 3 probably in the smartphone game. It's super bright, 3000 nits, punch hole cutout, dynamic island aside, because that is subjective, whether that's a huge thing for you, it might be. The actual panel is absolutely gorgeous. Tiny bezels, beautiful. I don't quite like how the Apple logo is here and not in the middle. I see why they've done it, because they've now got a segment here and it's in the middle of that segment. But I wouldn't have separated this off, because the Apple logo, I feel now looks similar to what Samsung have done, having it down. I think it looks better in the middle. Like, you've got a Mac, it's in the middle. Like, logos just look better in the middle. I think it just looks a bit low. You probably don't care. Speakers, great. I mean, I feel like we've kind of peaked in terms of smartphone speakers, unless there's any major developments in that area of tech. The audio is definitely going to be better than my dancing that you're going to see in a minute, but I can't help myself. All right? I've warned you, at least. Are you ready for the beat drop? I did warn you. I mean, people will pay good money for this sort of news. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry you had to witness that. Good speakers, what can I say? If you've got here and you've gone, no, this is it, I'm going to buy the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and you don't know what colour, I would suggest that this is probably my least favourite. And if I were to buy another one outright, I would probably say the navy, the deep blue, is my favourite, followed by the silver, followed by the cosmic orange. Even though this is the hero colour, I'm not hugely convinced personally. Definitely in terms of longevity, I think this may struggle out of the 3 in terms of looking the freshest. I think it is going to show a lot of those scuffs, etc. The silver is probably the safest in terms of that. I would have to test the blue in more detail. So amongst all of that ramblings, hopefully that's given you an idea about whether you should actually go out and get it if you haven't already. If you have, let me know your real world usage and whether you are hugely happy with your purchase decision or whether you have instant regret. And even if you haven't got one of these, from all of the videos, all of the information, all of the specs, etc. that you know, do you feel this has been a worthwhile upgrade, because it's very easy for me to sit here and say, this is what I think, but I'd love a general consensus of what we feel Apple has done this year, and the best way to do that is to look in the comments, I guess, and get that discussion going. I will try my best to look at all of the comments, and I will answer as many questions as I can, because this is ever changing and there may be new things that I'm experiencing as and when you watch this video. If you have found this video helpful, a like would be absolutely wonderful. Subscribe for more great tech. My name's Adam. You've been the best as always. I love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. Says ASBYT. Peace out.